I was working overtime to catch up and I never caught up. And it took me an embarrassingly long time to understand why. I'm going to tell you something today that makes no sense until you have lived it. The sacrifice that I made felt better than the treat. Today, I'm going to tell you about the no spend month that finally stopped the bleeding. And I want to be honest with you up front. Mine did not start as a cute challenge that I saw online. It started as a sacrifice that I made out of pure necessity because I was just so tired of doing this to myself. And here are the three rules that made it survivable. And also what happened on the other side that I did not see coming. Let me show you exactly what the hole looked like because I think that you might be standing in the same hole right now. Money was tight. It was really tight. And I would tell myself, if I eat out today, it's not going to be that bad. It's just one meal. How much damage can one meal possibly do? Let me tell you, that one meal eating out, it would throw off my entire budget for the week. And it was not because the meal was so expensive, because there was no room. When money is that tight, there is no cushion to absorb the extra. So that one dinner did not just cost me the dinner. It created a hole in another category, which made the next week harder, which made me more tired, and which made me more likely to say yes to the next little treat because I was exhausted and a treat was the only break that I actually gave to myself. I was picking up every extra shift that I could get, working hours on top of hours and telling myself the overtime was how I was going to dig myself out of that hole. But I had a habit that kept digging the hole right back, and it was doing that faster than the overtime could feel it. You know the saying that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result? Well, that was me working overtime to fill a hole that I was digging with my own fork at the same time. And then one day I got frustrated enough to admit something. I had the solution the whole time. I was just not using it. Rule number 1 month, 1 week at a time. I did not tell myself I had to do this forever. I did not even know I could do it for 2 or 3 months. I had no idea if I could even last 6 months. I just said, let me do it for 1 month and I'm going to tackle this 1 week at a time. 1 month felt possible. Forever, it felt impossible. And the truth is, you do not need forever. You need 30 days to break the pattern and then to prove to yourself that you can. And I'll be honest about my mindset going in. I said to myself, what do I even have to lose? Because the worst case scenario, I cook at home for a month and then I lose 10 pounds. That is the worst that can happen. So I tried it 1 week at a time. And that first week was easier than I expected because it was almost out of sight, out of mind. I knew the extra hours I was working, they were finally not getting blown on eating out while there was food sitting in my refrigerator. That alone felt like relief. Rule number 2, cut the leak before you decorate the room. Here's what I mean. I sat down and I looked at all my expenses and then I separated them in 2 categories, necessities and then everything else. And I cut the everything else honestly. Cable was one of the first things to go. And here's the thing that made me laugh at myself. I was spending real money on cable, and by the time that I finished working all those overtime hours, I did not even have time to watch television. So I was paying something that I was too busy to use. But I needed the internet, so here's a move that I want you to steal right now. I got rid of cable and then I signed up with a new internet provider as a new customer because they give all the best deals to new customers. So I locked myself into a low rate for 2 years. That was 2 years where I did not have to worry about the rate creeping up on me. And that is not just cutting an expense, that is removing a future stress before it ever arrives. And then there was eating out, the big one, the one that started this whole thing. I cut it. And here is how I made peace with cutting it. Eating out is supposed to be a treat. something that you enjoy. But when you are doing it out of exhaustion several times a week, while food goes bad in your refrigerator, it is not a treat anymore. It is a leak. And every time you do it, a part of you knows that you just made things harder for yourself. So the treat does not even feel good underneath that knowing. And I will tell you something else. During that no spend month, I did not even have a blow money category. And normally, I would tell you blow money is essential. It is what keeps a budget alive. But in that season of my life, I needed to stop the bleeding first. So patch the hole before you decorate the room. Once the foundation was solid, the joy category would come back. But you cannot build a beautiful room on a floor with a hole in it. Now, here's the part I did not expect, the part that changed how I think about money forever. The sacrifice felt better than the treat. I told you that up front because I needed you to stay long enough to understand it. And here is the understanding. When you eat out and you cannot afford it, the treat is over in 20 minutes. And then you feel like a failure. You feel like a child who could not take care of herself. You did this to yourself and you know it, and the food does not even taste good underneath that feeling. But the sacrifice kept giving. Every day I did not blow the money, I felt a little more in control, a little less like the situation was happening to me, and a little more like I was the one running the show. Making the sacrifice was more rewarding than the instant gratification it was supposed to replace. And that does not make logical sense until you have lived on both sides of it. I have lived on the side where I kept shooting myself on the foot every week. So when I finally stopped, the relief was bigger than any restaurant meal ever could be. And then something happened that I did not even plan for. The money I was not spending, it did not just disappear. It started to pile up quietly in an account that I barely looked at. For the first time in longer than I want to admit, I had a little bit of cushion. I had an emergency fund that I did not set out to build. It built itself out of the holes that I stopped digging. And when I could see it, when the progress became visual, it motivated me in a way nothing else had. There is something about watching $50 a week add up every 6 months, seeing the number climb, seeing what it represents, because you have been on the other side. You have been the woman shooting yourself on the foot every single week. So when you see the fun growing instead of the hole growing, it is like seeing the light finally at the end of the tunnel for the first time in years. So I am the kind of person who likes a challenge. Once the first month worked, I said, let me try 2 months, then 3. And it's not because anyone made me, because the progress was addictive in the best possible way. I kept going for about 6 months, building that emergency fund the entire time. And somewhere in those 6 months, something else happened that I did not plan. I became a minimalist. I did not read a book about it. I did not watch a documentary about it, although I love documentary. I just decided to own less. I just spent 30 days only buying what I actually needed. And on the other side, I looked around and realized I did not miss any of those things, any of the stuff, the takeout, the little treats that I thought were keeping me alive. I did not miss them. And I felt lighter without them. So instead of sitting in front of the television that I was not watching, I started doing more outdoor activities, going for long walks. I started reading more. I started filling my entire time with things that did not cost me money and discovering that I actually preferred them. A lot of what I had been paying for was getting in the way of the peace that I wanted to build. And that is rule number 3, the one that nobody warns you about. So rule number 1 was 1 month, 1 week at a time. Rule number 2 was cut the leak before you decorate the room. And rule number 3 is this: when the 30 days are over, you do not go back because you will not want to. Look, I came to this country alone, no safety net, no one behind me to catch me if I fail. And for years, I thought the answer was always more, work more, earn more, pick up more shifts, dig faster. That no spend month taught me the thing that nobody taught me. It was never about how much I could make, it was about how much I could keep and how much control I was willing to take back. That was not a budgeting trick, that was a second birth. So if you're standing in the hole right now, exhausted, working harder, failing further behind, do not start with forever. Start with 1 month, 1 week at a time. Patch the hole before you decorate the room, and then watch what you become on the other side. All right. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Webley, and this is Financial Control for Women Starting Over at 50 years old. I want you to tell me in the comments, could you make it 30 days? And what is the one spend that you know would be the hardest for you to give up? I read every single one of your comments, and remember to subscribe because I will see you in the next one.